Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hot Topics. We were very measured this morning and as careful as we could be about putting what we're going to put on the air or what we're going to stream today, because I don't think people realize the impact of what happened last night and what happened yesterday with the canceling of Joy Reid. I hate to say firing because I don't know exactly what happened, but the canceling of Joy Reid, her leaving the network, and the moves that they made. And this is particularly it's painful for me because, as I said to you guys yesterday, I know a lot of people who are involved, including the people who are making the decisions. But I have to do my job as a journalist and report on this and tell you the truth about it. So I don't think people realize the fallout that this is having. And let me tell you, I think there are lots of people who have had impact in this. And I think people, let me just be honest, starting from, what happened with Melissa Harris Perry was gone. A lot of folks, Tiffany Cross, me, I think that people are all of a sudden realize, like, hey, what the fuck is going on here? Right? Like, things are not as they appear. And I don't think that the sleight of hand is going to really work that much anymore on behalf of the people who are maybe running or making the decisions or whatever. I just think that this is sort of exposed. There were some who were canary in the coal mine. You guys didn't realize it. And then now I think there's going to be more fallout to this than folks realize. And there could be a Target FAFO moment here. I'm not saying I wish that on someone, but I have been around for a long time, and this is the journalist. I am reporting. And so I'm going to tell you what happened, and I'm also going to give you analysis on how I feel. So if you guys are ready for that, I'm ready for it this morning. Because we are going to chat. And I want to know how you guys feel. So call everybody in here. You're going to hear from a lot of people. WTF is going on the mainstream cable media. Yes, says hippie on a magic carpet ride. It's true. That's what people are wondering what's going on. So my job as a journalist is to report things without fear or favor. And that's what I'm going to do. How do I say this? My mission and my calling and my duty is the best way to put it. As a person of color, as a Black man in America who has been exposed to the news media, the inequities, the great journey that it can be, but then how we are treated differently than other people, that the rules are different for us. It is my duty to report this to you with someone who has knowledge. Just like if you have a law degree, then you can be a legal analyst. If you have a degree in finance, then you can be a financial analyst. I have a degree in Blackness, and I have a degree in media. Not only do I have a TV radio with a minor in broadcast journalism degree, but I also have a degree of hard knocks, a graduate degree of this entire first broadcast industry, working for the broadcast media, then working for the cable news industry, and now working for digital. Hell, shit, I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. So if I'm not going to tell you the shit, then who is going to tell you the shit? Okay? So you guys ready for this? Let me just give you my sort of generic open, and I'm going to tell you about, you guys don't understand what the fuck Rachel Maddow did last night. Rachel Maddow, you are one classy woman. You don't understand the impact of what Rachel Maddow did last night. That was some ballsy shit that she did. That was some boss shit that she did. And she showed up a lot of people who are in this industry who have major roles at news organizations who don't stand up for people and who just sort of go where they just sort of read the tea leaves and they're protective of where they are. Rachel Maddow threw caution to the wind and said, let me tell you. And she was very, extremely, how do I say this? Measured, but not too measured. She was gracious, but she was good. She read them, as we say, the sort of Ivy League way where you don't know, where she said, bless your heart. So Rachel, thank you for being a stand-up gal. And I don't mean that as a pejorative. Yes, Velma Scarborough. Yes, Rachel Strong. It's what the media should be doing. Rachel is fearless. Now, Rachel is in a different place because there is no MSNBC without Rachel Maddow. And Rachel knows that. And good, I'm glad she knows that. A lot of people may not realize that. The networks may not realize that. They may think that they have an MSNBC without Joy. I don't know if that's probably, who knows, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they don't know. It is the people you have on. People are watching the people because you can get news anywhere. I can get news right here. I can get news on my phone. I can get news on the computer. The people tune in, especially to cable news, especially at night, to personalities, to people that they admire, respect, that they're interested in. So let's talk about this. I'm going to give you just the sort of generic open that I have, and then I'm going to talk to you about, then I'm going to go into my shit, as I say. So good morning. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. Is corporate media carrying out an early spring cleaning? But instead of removing dust and clutter, are they kicking out Black, brown, and Asian anchors to the curb? Are they? Are they removing all the voices who most steadfastly defended minorities in this country, the most steadfast voices who spoke out against what is tyranny, our not even move, but just this sort of giant push towards fascism, autocracy, the dictatorship, people who are organizations and the government who are trying to control the media? Are they pushing those voices out of the way? This is something that people are just waking up to. And has it been happening for a while? Yes, it has. So think about all the high-profile cancellations we have seen of late. Mehdi Hassan, Joy Reid, or not just cancellations, but moves of people to different places. Ayman Mohyeldin, Jonathan Capehart, Katie Phang, and others. What do all these folks have in common? To quote Tucker Carlson, of all people, I'm just asking questions. So if you guys feel a certain kind of way, news folks are watching, managers or whatever bosses, I'm just asking questions. This morning, I'm going to dig into what appears to be an uncivil war. I prefer to call it a civil rights war at MSNBC. The suits versus the anchors. Money versus human dignity. Okay, so that is the thing that we had prepared. Thank you, Peter, for writing that and for channeling me on that. Peter's the head writer, my head writer. So thank you for that. And he's right on about all of that. So here's Don Lemon speaking. That was me speaking, but here's Don Lemon speaking. So I am not glad that this happened to Joy, but out of this, I am very, very moved and inspired by what is happening. An awakening is happening. Now, it will only last as long as people, as you, the people who have the voice, will allow it to happen. You have the power in this. And it is connected. The news media is connected to the government. It's connected to business. It's connected to Wall Street. It's connected to all these things. And I believe that my girl, Joy, is playing a big role in this, because that is what she has done always, whether people liked it or not. You may not agree with her. And guess what? I love Joy. I don't always agree with her, but that's my sister. People don't always agree with me. I'm sure Joy does not always agree with me. We have had conversations about, and she's checked me on some things. I check her on things, but that's how it is. We still love each other. We're sister and brother. Same thing with Angela Rye, who I'm going to talk to about, and Tiffany Cross, my sisters. And the people who keep me straight in this business, Bakari Sellers. I'm just going there. The people who support me, Joy Reid, Sonny Hostin, loyal as fuck. And I love you for it. And we need more like you who are unwilling, who are willing and unafraid to speak out and tell the truth, because that's our role as journalists. We're supposed to do it without fear or favor. But people are trying to make us fearful. And it's not just the government that's trying to make us fearful. And the government, quite frankly, is doing it through the corporation. So I'm going to start with I'm trying to figure out if I should start with Angela, if I should start with Rachel. Let me start with Rachel, and then because I want to back into this. So watch this. It's a little bit long. But what Rachel Maddow did last night, after she went on to Joy's show, which was a classy fucking move, after she went on to Joy's show, Rachel Maddow on her own show, again, as I said, did something that I believe is extremely important and that people don't even know how important it is yet. Here's Rachel Maddow. She knows what's happening. Rachel, be knowing. Watch.
Nights except for Mondays. So that's a big change. An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that.
Go, Rachel.
But that's what I think.
Go, Rachel.
I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Phang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it. But there's just one other piece of it that you should know. From your side of the TV screen, you will mostly see changes in terms of who's in the anchor chair. And actually, everybody who's going to be in anchor chairs from here on out are great colleagues and great at what they do, and you are not going to be disappointed in who's on our air and what you're going to be seeing. But one thing you cannot necessarily see is that the people who get our shows on the air, they're really being put through the ringer. Dozens of producers and staffers, including some who are among the most experienced and most talented and most specialist producers in the building, are facing being laid off. They're being invited to reapply for new jobs. That has never happened at this scale in this way before when it comes to programming changes, presumably because it's not the right way to treat people, and it's inefficient and it's unnecessary, and it kind of drops the bottom out of whether or not people feel like this is a good place to work, and so we don't generally do things that way.
Wow.
Maybe all of our folks, including most of the people who are getting this very show on the air right now, maybe they will all get new jobs here, and I hope they do. But in the meantime, being put in this kind of limbo, the anxiety and the discombobulation is off the charts at a time when this job already is extra stressful and difficult. It is not news for me to tell you that the press and freedom of the press are under attack in a way that is really, it's a big deal for our country. It's very visceral for us here. I know that the business of the press is not an easy thing, and I know that no job is forever. But I think I'm safe in saying for all of us anchors who you know through the TV, please know that what pains us the most is not what happens to us. It is what happens to our coworkers on whom we depend and who you don't necessarily know, but we respect and love them and depend on them. And did I mention we respect them? This is a difficult time in the news business, but it does not need to be this difficult. We welcome new voices to this place and some familiar voices to new hours. It's going to be great, honestly, and we want to grow and succeed and reach more people than ever and be resilient and stay here forever. I also believe, and I bet you believe, that the way to get there is by treating people well. Finding good people, good colleagues, doing good work with them, and then having their back. That we could do a lot better on. A lot better.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Go, Rachel. Rachel, let me tell you, has always been that girl. I remember years ago, I didn't know Rachel. She didn't know me from a hole in the wall. When I came out, Rachel, all of a sudden I'm sitting in my office and there's a giant bouquet of flowers that showed up at my office and said something like, I can't remember exactly what the note says. I have it somewhere, but like, thank you for your courage. And this is going to go really great for you. Don't be nervous or whatever. Just that girl. And classy, because every news anchor, every person in the news, every leader in the newsroom, every face of the network should be watching Rachel, and they should be doing what Rachel is doing. They should be doing what Rachel is doing. Because otherwise, they get rid of all of you, all of us. They can't fire everybody at one time. So people should have, especially as journalists, the courage to step up, especially those iconic anchors and figures in this business. Max Tunney put this up and said that Rachel Maddow fought hard behind the scenes. We had that. I think he tweeted it, to keep Rachel and to keep Joy in her slot. If we have that, Andy, you can put it up. But she fought hard. And you know what she did last night, which I think was extremely classy, and it should be a lesson for the networks and a lesson for the people in the business who are watching this sort of tidal wave of people being gotten rid of, and people who are and trying to push a news company or a network in a certain direction that fits what the corporate owners and shareholders want, which may not necessarily be what the public wants, or what the government wants, or what the president wants, or what the Trump administration wants. During a meeting with the staff on Sunday, Maddow said that she privately fought the network's recent show cancellations and decisions to make MSNBC staff reapply for their jobs. And then he said on her show just now, Rachel Maddow said on Joy's show being canceled, I think it's a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. I agree. She adds it is unnerving to see the network's decision to cancel shows hosted by non-white anchors. That feels indefensible. And she said she's not going to defend it. So regardless of how people may feel a certain way, and I said this last night because I had a Joy Reid watch party. It was a show that I did. People may not even understand why they don't like or they disagree with Joy so much. You can disagree, but why they have feelings about Joy, they haven't even addressed or assessed their biases. Many of them unconscious, some of them conscious. There's room in this business for all types of voices. Even if you say, oh, activists, they're activist journalists. How do you think the journalists, there were many journalists who were activists. And everyone says, oh, I want to go back to a day when it's like this, and journalists just gave the news. Everyone from Edward R. Murrow to Walter Cronkite gave their opinions and points of view. Always, since there's been journalism. So that bullshit about this time when no. And we don't live in those times anymore. Those folks did not have social media. They did not have an internet. They did not have computers in their pockets. They did not have truth immediately available to them. So sometimes they had to sit out and wait. Sometimes the truth is right in your face and you can give a fact-based point of view. Rachel is that girl. Take note, everybody in this industry. You got to stand up. You have to be willing to sacrifice something, or you have to, and then, or be ready to lose everything. First they came for this person, first they came for this, first again, then they came for me, and there was nobody to stand up for me. Rachel Maddow went on Joy Reid's show last night. She did Nicole Wallace, Lawrence O'Donnell. Very classy move. The faces of the network. The only people I didn't see Joe and Mika. They are the faces of the network. I'm not just saying I didn't, so I don't know what's up, but I didn't. Joe and Mika, would love to have seen you there to say something. I think other people would have probably stood up for you. I think Joy might have probably would have as well. Now, maybe you said something. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of school. And if I am, I apologize. But I have not seen anything. Here's Rachel Maddow first on Joy's show last night.
I think people can be doing right now that's effective?
Well, first I want to say that I love you, Joy.
I love
and
you.
that I am bereft that the readout is ending. I just can't even, I sort of can't get beyond that. So I want to say that, but that is also part of what I think I have to say to the country about this moment, which is find people who you respect and trust and love and make common cause with them and help yourself by learning from them and help them by standing up for them. And I think we have tried to do that. And I think that in important ways we have failed, but I think it's still the right thing to try to do. And so whether that means, joining something locally or whether that means making some sort of more unofficial common cause with the people in your life who you respect and who you think are people you can depend on, like I feel about you, you gotta join forces. We can none of us can do this alone. And being atomized and dislocated and picked off one by one is a strategy of the other side, and we need to stick together.
Indeed. And when you're hearing Rachel.
Did you hear that? Being atomized and picked off one by one. They came for the black lady. I didn't say anything. Then they came for the Asian lady. I didn't say anything. Then they came for the black guy. I didn't say anything. Then they came for the Muslim guy. I didn't say anything. And they came for the Jewish guy, and I didn't say anything. And then they came for me, and there was nobody to stand up for me. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel is that girl. Everyone should be Rachel. But unfortunately, they're not. Nicole Wallace, class act. Here's Nicole Wallace on Joy's show last night.
In this company than Rachel Maddow. And when I tell you she is our fearless leader, we mean it. And she is our super friend. We love her so much. And let me go to my other, speaking of super friends, when y'all watch on the special, the person that says exactly what I was going to say, making me have to think of a whole different thing to say because she thinks she's like so brilliant. But I'm just literally so in awe of just your history, your ability, your political acumen. Nicole Wallace, my good sister, tell me what you, in your brilliant self, believe people can do.
Well, I'm going to break the rules the way Rachel broke the rules and tell you that I love you, that the happiest times I've had, not just at MSNBC, but ever being on television, have been sitting next to the two of you. No offense, Lawrence. We love having you there, too.
We love Lawrence.
And that I think that I thought that things like that on TV couldn't be real, but that the friendships that have sustained me have been with both of you. And I am, it's like losing a limb, the thought of doing those nights without you. Your strength and your fearlessness is the answer to the question I think you're getting at with both of us. And I think that my reaction to the end of the readout and your departure is despair. And the only thing that that chips away at that for me is that despair is the autocrat's tool. It's their most effective weapon. It costs nothing.
Do you hear
it's
that?
easy to deploy. It's contagious. And then it puts in motion all the actions they want: hopelessness, isolation, exasperation, giving up.
Yeah.
And so the only reason I will not wallow in what I feel about you leaving is because I think that's what they want.
That's what they want. That's what they want. That's what they want. That's what the corporations want. And that's what this administration wants. That's what autocrats want. That's what dictators want. That's what people who want power want. That's what they want. And people forget journalism is supposed to be about the people. It's the only job that I know that's mentioned in the very first amendment in the Constitution, the freedom of the press. And I think that they should be treated differently. I think there should be a firewall between the corporation and journalists, which is what Jeff Zucker did at CNN. Let me handle the journalism. You take care of the business. This is what we do. I don't know if those kinds of people exist anymore as bosses in the news media. Maybe there's a reason for that. I don't think journalism should be about profits. I don't think it should really be about the business. It is a business now. I think it should be about holding people in power accountable and looking out for the people and informing them. Rachel, Nicole, Lawrence, amazing. Amazing. So I'm taking my time today because I just want to be very clear about what I do, and I'm trying not to make any mistakes, get anything wrong that someone can hit us on, because I think this is a very important time. And I think it's a time for people like me, especially those who have a voice, to stand up and to tell the truth. Okay? Here is Don reading between the lines. Do you think MSNBC is being pressured by the administration to make these changes, or do you think they are obeying in advance? Do I think they're being pressured? Yes. I think all news organizations are being pressured. Yes. All one has to do. Thank you for that question, Christopher Daniel, and thank you for your support of independent media. By the way, this is your time to support independent media. You can like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button or the thumbs up. It affects the algorithm, and more people get to hear and see and become aware of this channel and of this program, and they get to be aware of the truth without corporate influence. Without someone telling us, don't say that, watch your tone, which is usually what they say to people who are blackety black, too black, maybe scaring some of the viewers or some of the shareholders or whatever, or the bosses. Or even they'll say that to, people of color, Asian folks or whatever. Watch your tone. Watch your tone means don't be so what it is that you are. Don't get uppity. Thank you very much for that, casual observer. Don't get uppity. So yes to that. So I want to be very clear about this. So make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the thumbs up. We are streaming live on YouTube, which is our main channel. You can go to YouTube, you can subscribe. It's at the bottom of your screen. It is free. You can become a member. The membership link is at the top of the chat. And you can also, if you become a member, we have different tiers of membership. Our members get to be on the show. We had a show for the highest tier of our membership yesterday with people on the screen who are members, who are part of the show, and they got to voice their opinions, and we got to talk to them. They get to talk to us. That doesn't happen to you in linear television or corporate media. Okay? So we are streaming on YouTube. We're streaming live on TikTok. We're streaming live on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And then later, this will go to Spotify, iHeart, and Apple Podcasts. Lots of platforms. So now is your time to support independent media. So let's just talk about that, okay? Because there was a call night before last about Joy Reid and about basically really how we need to stand up for each other, and how this is a big issue that folks aren't paying attention to. And before you know it, all the voices, all the media will be sanitized. It will be free of diversity. It will be sanitized people who are Asian, sanitized African American, sanitized the right kind of person. You remember back in the day, it was like, oh, everybody on TV, black people was just light skinned. You know what I'm talking about? I'm going there. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Don't be too black. Don't be too Asian. Don't be too Muslim. Don't be too Muslim. Don't be too Arab. Don't be too this. You need to be palatable for white folks who are watching, palatable for the people in the C-suites, palatable for the people who are the shareholders, for the owners of the companies. Hello, is this thing on? Andy, my mic is working, right? I'd like to check occasionally.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, it's good. Okay, just want to double check. So there was a call 2 nights ago when the news came out about Joy Reid. It was on Monday night. It was held by Win with Black Women, who was the same thing that the group that became popular during Kamala Harris's campaign. And there were these group of black women who were standing behind Joy Reid. And one of those women, I'm going to play 2 of them. One of those women was actually fired from MSNBC for telling the truth about Megyn Kelly. And the other was both of them have a very successful podcast now called Native Land that you must check out, where they speak the truth as we do on the Don Lemon Show. One of them I worked with at CNN. She's no longer there. So Angela Rye was one of the organizers. Tiffany Cross was there as well, one of the organizers. I don't know if Tiffany was an organizer, but Tiffany is a good friend of Joy and has been by her side for this. So here's Angela Rye talking about now the moment that we're in, especially as people of color, as minorities, as people who are in the underserved community, as people who are treated a certain way, especially by this broadcast, news, media, corporate industry. So I'm going to turn it over to Angela Rye, who talks about, well, she says what I say every day. This is just a coincidence because I love Kendrick Lamar. And so when I end this show every day, I say, turn the TV off. So I was so happy when Kendrick Lamar said that at the Super Bowl, turn the TV off, right? Because I say that because I always tell people you can be informed without being inundated. I'm not telling you not to watch TV, but I'm telling you don't have to sit there and become infuriated all day with it on in the background. You have a life. So you can inform yourself and then turn the TV off and go live your life and then turn it back on if you choose to. But we gladly accept you here in independent media where you can be informed without being inundated and informed without having your intelligence insulted. Here's Angela Rye on that call 2 nights ago.
A Freudian slip. But I do want to say this to you all tonight. We have been summoned to act. Our ancestors require it. The present requires it. Future generations require it. We have to stand up and utilize our voices. Let me be clear about the fact that we do need joy. We need joy, but everybody needs us to move with courage right now. Amen. Everyone, we've got to move with courage. So I'm going to tell you today, you'll see near the end of this call, a video that will run. We are going to operationalize hashtag TV off. So still hashtag we need joy, but also hashtag TV off. Joy Reid won 2 NAACP Image Awards this week. Joy Reid has been an award-winning journalist. She is brilliant. There's nobody who can touch Joy. And just because you find other people to put in a time slot who look just like Joy does not mean that that is Joy's voice. So it's hashtag TV off because we are boycotting MSNBC. We will not be watching. The final time we're watching MSNBC, I'm speaking for my brother and sister right here. We invite you to join us. Is tomorrow night after Joy Reid 7 p.m. readout.
Pause, please, just for a second. And then you can back up a little bit. Do you understand what she said there? Because the people who run the companies think that if they get rid of a black voice, they can just replace it with another black voice. And that's not to say anything disparaging about the people that they replace them with, because they are usually very highly talented people. But not everybody offers the same thing. Not everybody can replace Joy's voice or anybody else's voice, nor can they do the job that she did. She does it differently. They may do something in a different way. But just because you replace someone with a black person doesn't mean that we don't get it. We see what's going on. And it doesn't make it not racist or racism either, because you do that. It actually makes it more. It's actually insulting because you think I'm going to replace it with a black person or black people, and then that's going to quiet the black people down and they can't criticize us because we got rid of a black person, that we got rid of a black voice, a very black voice that we are uncomfortable with and some are uncomfortable with, instead of leaning into that voice and saying, this is what journalism is about all sides. Okay. So don't think that, look, don't fall for the okie doke is what I'm saying to you. I told you that not everybody who is a great contributor or reporter or analyst or whatever is a good anchor. And I'll leave it at that. Keep on with Angela.
Brother and sister right here, we invite you to join us. Is tomorrow night, after Joy Reid 7 p.m. readout is done, TV is off. But we want historic ratings for tomorrow. We want to ensure that we are writing letters, sending emails, posting on social, telling people how much Joy Reid means to us. And we're also letting people know that we have our own outlets. We have our own Black media entities that we want to support and lift up. We're not just about taking away. We're giving you facts. We're still going to make sure that we keep those options open. Joy is going to let you know on tomorrow's show where you can find her. We want to lift that up. Rashad, I want to come to you, but because our sister Tiffany Cross has been in this same experience.
All right. So, and then Tiffany Cross, who was fired by MSNBC, also came in and had a few things to say. And Tiffany gives you now, Tiffany, I'm gonna let Tiffany play a little bit longer than I let Angela, because I think with Tiffany, Tiffany has especially skin in the game because she's been there where Joy has been, and she's bringing facts. And so I want you to put your coffee down, put your whatever it is down, put the kid in the crib or the playpen or whatever, and I just want you to listen, because again, this is an honest moment, and this is what you get every day on this show. I can't be anything but honest, and I get in trouble for it a lot, but you know what? Hey, there are a lot of people who fought and died for me, and I cannot betray them by being mealy-mouthed and nervous and not being able to sacrifice something for the people who got lynched, fought and died for me. Got hoses on them dogs, couldn't get credit, couldn't buy homes, went to war, came back, were treated as animals. I have to be willing to sacrifice something, and I also have to tell the fucking truth. Okay? Here is Tiffany Cross. Listen closely, Tiffany.
In the news media, it is so rare for Black women, Black people, period, but Black women to have a voice and a platform. Across all newsrooms, only 6% of newsroom staff is Black. When you disaggregate that data, that means the number of Black women are even fewer. When you disaggregate that data, that means the number of conscious Black women who are not only Black faces, but Black voices are even fewer. Had it not been for the truth teller that you are, Joy Reid, I would never have gotten this platform. You put your stake on it. You put your stake on me, and what a blessing it is to have the baton passed to you from MHP and to have you pass the baton to me. I will be standing right there with you, next to you tomorrow when you deliver your final show on that network. I already told Jay I'm coming over. We're going to toast afterwards. We are going to have joy, and I want to be there with you when you sign off. And I heard you say, and I know that feeling, Joy, that I heard you say, my show mattered, but you're speaking in past tense. I want you to know that you matter, present tense. Your voice matters. And I'm glad you're not on camera because I don't want you to be associated with these remarks. And I apologize to Bishop Daughtry right now because I'm going to try to stop myself from delivering some 4-letter words. But I'm going to just say, don't watch where you're not welcome. Don't shop where they won't hire you. The same thing they say. Don't even hate watch. And don't believe the hype, because what comes next are the attacks where they just start making up stuff. So brace yourself, because y'all are going to hear some things and they're going to try to say some things, because when movement happens, they don't know how Black women move. And because they don't know that, they move like colonizers, and then they try to put out an attack. We are here to support Joy. Don't believe the hype about the ratings. Her show was doing very well. You know whose ratings ain't doing well, who ain't never got fired? Morning Joe. Joe Scarborough. They went to Kiss the Ring and they are still being elevated. The other, I could say a lot about other ratings, but if you look at them, Joy's show has rated very well. She's always done well. There are people in positions of power who do not like her opinions and truth-telling courage when she spoke about what was happening in Gaza, among a lot of other things. And I am proud to call you my sister. And I just want to encourage everyone in this call, keep uplifting. Don't share things that are negative. Don't repost. Even if you're criticizing it, don't even give it breath. Don't even give it life. We need joy. We have joy. And that's the only thing we're trafficking in right now. Joy and uplifting our sister and holding your hand. And just thank you, Angela, so much for always holding the line, holding us. This is bringing me back to 2022 when I was in your custody. So I just can't thank you enough, and I love you dearly. Shout out to all the machetes. I love you, Angela, and I love you deep, Joy Reid. I love you so deep.
Thank you for that. Okay, so you guys heard Tiffany, right? Because the attacks usually come out because they have to create a narrative in order to be able to get rid of someone who's Black or minority or gay, right? So then they send the minions out in the press to write stories and create false narratives about the people that they're getting rid of to create a what? Predicate to get rid of. Oh, well, it's justified because they did this, this happened, this is it. And you cannot defend yourself. And Joy may not be able to because she's under contract. Oh, y'all are not listening to me. And then you guys buy it and you believe it. You believe it. Oh, these guys did this. She did this, or this happened, and they fired her for this. And it's like, oh, okay. That's not really what happened. But you believe the blogs, the gossip rags, the industry rags. And when you guys don't realize the industry rags, the people who are supporting the industry rags are people who own the media companies and they have connections, and the PR people are all together. And then all of a sudden it's a whole thing. And it's just you up against the system. They have to justify their BS, says Kim Spears. Do you guys hear me? I'm sharing things that people don't usually talk about because they're afraid. I'm not afraid. I have no reason to be afraid anymore. Don't eat or shop where you're not wanted. I thought that was brilliant what she said. And so let's play, and because I want to, when people are saying, well, I like to show proof and evidence, okay? So when they say they're getting rid of, or they're either throttling or diminishing the platforms or the voices of the people who are the opposition to the sort of, the narrative that people want to carry forward. So let's give some evidence and let's see. I want to look at some of the work of the people who are affected by this. Let's just look at a little bit of Katie Phang and how Katie Phang covers the news on the Katie Phang Show on MSNBC. Here it is.
Merit-based country. Right. On his first day back in the Oval Office, Donald Trump signed an executive order ending what he called, quote, radical and wasteful diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in federal agencies. It's unclear how many workers ultimately will be affected, but what is evident is the impact this will have on the government and the country. Trump's actions echo President Woodrow Wilson's then unprecedented segregation of federal offices in 1913. There was no official law, No executive order, just guiding policy. But that policy led to blacks being segregated or just summarily dismissed from federal positions nationwide. For example, in 1914, Wilson required a photo from all federal job applicants to make it easier for racial screening. And those black workers who managed to keep their jobs, they were often subjected to inhumane and degrading treatment. In an open letter to Wilson, W.E.B. Du Bois wrote, quote, "We are told that one colored clerk who could not actually be segregated on account of the nature of his work has consequently had a cage built around him to separate him from his white companions of many years." Take a second to let that sink in. A cage.
Thank you. That's Katie Phang. That's how, just a little bit of how she covers the news. Ayman Mohyeldin, a little bit about how he presents himself and covers the news.
Why are you putting that false ad on there?
First, regarding the ad, I have not seen. This is the first time I've seen that, so I can't comment on it. If you had apprised me that we were going to discuss this, I would have been briefed on that.
It's there. It's there on your screen. Tens of thousands of dollars in swing states.
I'm not going to take your word for it, Ayman, and I'm not going to take MSNBC's word for it. I don't know if what you're presenting on the screen is accurate. Okay, well, I don't know that, and I don't know the context of it, okay?
It's the Facebook ad library,
well, I don't know that. And you know what? I'm not willing to take your word for it, quite frankly. So I'd be happy to go look into that and then come back to you. You're trying to engage in a gotcha moment. You want me to say something about an ad when I've never seen the ad. I don't even know if it's our ad.
No, gotcha, sir. You're raising questions about a sitting member of Congress, and I'm asking you questions about what your campaign is doing. I'll give you a chance to go back, prepare for this interview next time with what your campaign is doing.
No. I'm very prepared for this interview. I'm very prepared for this interview.
Bring the names. You don't even know the names. You don't even know the names of the people who made an agreement. You don't even know the names of the people in your campaign who made an agreement.
Actually, I do know the names.
Now you remember the names?
They're not press people. So no, I said it's an entire team.
No,
and
you said you didn't know. And I asked you.
I'm not going to give you their names so that you can harass them.
Steve, that's not what you said. Steve, that's not what you said. I asked you who is it. You said you don't know. You said you don't know who on the team. You said it was an entire
team.
Okay. We're going to have to leave it at that. Unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of information, Steve. I apologize. I'll give you a chance to get...
I don't know which individual person on that team.
No worries. We'll give you a chance to maybe get that information. When you find out who from your team made that agreement and the specific agreement, please bring the documents, the emails, the agreement, anything you can provide to substantiate the claim that you made that was used to misinform millions of people in this country.
No, it was not used to misinform. All
right, thank you. You guys get the point. You guys get the point. And then, Ayman, we need to talk about your tone. And if you're on morning, it's not appropriate for this hour of the day. Here's Ayman again about how he presents himself on the news.
South Carolina has a tough history. We all know that. Many of us have seen it in our own lives, in the lives of our parents and our grandparents. We don't need reminders.
All right, so that was 2015 when South Carolina's governor, Nikki Haley, spoke about her decision to order the removal of the Confederate battle flag from the state capitol in Columbia. The move came on the heels of a racist attack in Charleston when a white supremacist walked into a historically black church and murdered 9 people during a Bible study. Yes, Haley's leadership in the aftermath of that tragedy was commendable. She spoke with moral clarity. She rallied staunchly conservative Republicans to do the right thing and remove a vile symbol of hate. But then came the 2024 election cycle and Haley's personal ambitions to try and become president of the United States. And that forced the moral high ground to the wayside. Like last month when she declined to acknowledge that slavery was the cause of the Civil War. And then this week when she said this.
I mean, yes, I'm a brown girl that grew up in a small rural town in South Carolina who became the first female minority governor in history, who became a UN ambassador, and who is now running for president. If that's not the American dream, I don't know what is.
Are you a racist party? Are you involved in a racist party?
No. We're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country.
America has never been a racist country. Seriously? Is this the same Nikki Haley? Because truly, how can you reconcile what she said in 2015, her clear, compassionate rhetoric, with what she is saying now? When Haley says America has never been a racist country, is she saying slavery was a hoax and never happened? Is she denying it was a policy sanctioned by state governments and effectively enshrined in the U.S. Constitution with the 3/5 and fugitive slave clauses? Is she saying Jim Crow never happened, that Japanese internment camps never happened? Or is she saying that all that state-sponsored racism was not racist? She will have to answer that, because both can't be true. What is clear is that Haley is desperate to appeal to a very specific type of far-right Republican voters, desperate to peel off enough MAGA voters to justify her staying in this race. And that makes this whole situation so sad. We've now reached a point in GOP politics where appealing to white nationalist voters is a must. For now, it appears they only want to worship one man. You know who he is. He has no problem dabbling in racism himself. And yet, despite the truth about Trump, even he can recognize what the Civil War was really about. And before you hear this, we want to make clear, we never make a habit of airing Trump's nonsense, but there is an exception to every rule.
They asked her about the Civil War. Why did it start? How did it start? She didn't use the word slavery, which was interesting. I don't know that it's going to have an impact, but you know, I'd say slavery is sort of the obvious answer. It's supposed to about 3 paragraphs of.
So good luck Tuesday in New Hampshire, Ambassador Haley. Perhaps if you call it the war of northern aggression, you'll only lose by 10 or 15 points instead.
Thank you, Ayman. I tried to tell y'all about Nikki Haley, but y'all wouldn't listen. Y'all wouldn't listen to me. She will say anything to win, and her ideas and concepts and ideals are outmoded. I tried to tell y'all about Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm just saying, but this ain't about me. But I did try to tell y'all. And all you people and women, I would vote for Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is a liar and has no moral compass, because she will say anything she has to win. I'm not going to run against Donald Trump unless she runs against Donald Trump. I'm not going to say anything bad about Donald Trump, and then he's the worst person in the world. And then she begs to campaign for him. Girl, please. Nikki after round and Nimrata found out. Okay, so let's talk others who have had an issue with the news. Mehdi Hasan, this is how he presented himself on the news.
He's way behind in the polls. His campaign is burning through cash, and he just fired a campaign staffer who used Nazi imagery to astroturf online enthusiasm. So it's strange that Ron DeSantis decided to mark his latest campaign reboot, reset, relaunch, I've lost count of how many there have been already, by making the case that there was some upside, some pros, some lovely little silver linings to slavery. No, really. Don't take my word for it. This is not a liberal smear campaign. Just listen to Ron DeSantis himself.
Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life.
Parlayed. DeSantis was defending the Sunshine State's new social studies education standards, or rather one standard in particular, that dictates middle school students should learn, quote, how slaves developed skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. Here's the craziest part, though. Not content with defending that curriculum, defending the supposed personal benefits that slavery conferred on the enslaved, Team DeSantis has since gone to war, both in public statements and especially via online tweet tirades, not just with the plethora of historians and teachers who have spoken out against it, but also with prominent black Republicans expressing their concern, claiming they're all siding with the lying Democrats. when Florida GOP Congressman, hardcore right-winger Byron Donalds tweeted that the, quote, attempt to feature the personal benefits of slavery is wrong and needs to be adjusted. DeSantis' rapid response coordinator and top Twitter troll Christina Pushaw replied, did Kamala Harris write this tweet?
Okay, so you see, Mehdi goes hard, still does. One more thing about Mehdi Hassan. I just want to play this, how he conducts himself.
Muslim extremists tore through Target retail stores this week, wreaking havoc and threatening violence upon anyone who dared get in their way, all because of Target's participation in Pride Month. These extremists clearly hate our freedoms, our tolerance, our way of... Wait. I'm being told it wasn't Muslim extremists who tore through Target stores. It was conservative extremists. Yes, fresh off their astroturfed boycott of Bud Light for daring to feature a transgender spokesperson in an Instagram ad, the right-wing media establishment set their crosshairs on Target. And the dogs of war they did unleash as overnight seemingly everyone's worst conservative uncle at Thanksgiving dinner took it upon themselves to breach the walls of Target's woke clothing departments and trash the rainbow pride displays and accost store employees in the process.
There you go. So, man, that guy's getting a little too, out there. He's just poking in the eye and their tone. There are people who disagree with you and who do not believe in the same things that you believe in, and they have a different perspective, a different experience in America. It is not sanitized. It is deeply painful to many people. Yes, this country has a racist fucking history, and there's racism now. Look at what's happening in Washington. And people are trying to silence those voices, to sanitize those voices, to sideline those voices. Now, I want you to check this out. This is what a Twitter user said about the full screen, that it was about how they feel about Joy Reid being fired. Do we have that full screen? When you find it, put it up, please.
If the one on how to support her?
No, the one on the Twitter user deeply upset by the move of firing. Peter, can you make sure he gets it?
Yes, I will look.
But let me just say that there are people who are out here fighting. Deeply bizarre move by MSNBC to fire Reid, probably one of their most energetic and visceral hosts. Just as a Democratic base, the MSNBC viewership starts demanding more of what Reid is doing. People want authentic voices that are going to tell you what's happening in the world and also sometimes tell you about yourself. And you may not like it all the time. But the whole point of it is to have a conversation about it. I disagree with something Joy Reid said. Let's fire her. That's not the answer. I disagree with something Joy Reid said. Let's talk about it is the answer. I disagree with something Mehdi says. I think Mehdi is too pro-Palestinian. Let's fire him. No, why do you think that? What does Mehdi have to say about that? Let's have a conversation about it on the air, which is what the American people need, which is what people do at home. That's all I'm saying. I hope you have learned, because you've seen how those folks conduct themselves on the air. Now, I'm not doing this. This is not personal. But it is jarring when you have, I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to wait for this one. This is someone who is, can we get the Reid TikTok here? The last thing in the thing. This is someone who is saying what that Twitter user said as well. And this is a real I love to have on this program real people. And I love to use people from social media because they are real people. They're not getting all dressed up, face full of makeup and suits. And they, I worked on the Hill for 55 years. And let me give you my perspective on that. Who gives a fuck about that? Nobody gives a shit. This is a real person. This is what this person says. And I actually agree with him. Here it is.
MSNBC, what the heck is your angle here? Getting rid of Joy Reid? Like, people are leaving in droves because people don't trust you anymore. Like, we need a voice. We need somebody to push back against the insanity that's happening right now. And the only person we have left is Rachel Maddow. I don't get what the angle is, because what happens when all of this is over? And it's going to be sooner than you think. 4 a.m. Club, shout out. What's going to happen when all this comes to the surface? Because you guys are not going to have any viewers. Like, any viewers. People are moving over to Midas Touch in droves. And you want to get rid of somebody that we can actually relate to, like all of your viewers who I just don't understand what the angle is. Like, are you trying to lose? Are you trying to go under? I actually don't understand. But I do think that, like, Joy Reid and Don Lemon should link up and do a show together now, because he's absolutely crushing it and she's brilliant, and MSNBC, figure it out.
I thank you for that compliment. And this is, again, as I said, very painful to me because I know a lot of people involved and I love all of them, even the people who make these decisions. But this is my job as a journalist to do. Now, this is what I'll say. When you hear the folks like, and you heard Joy, I didn't have to play a soundbite from Joy. You heard her last night. You've seen her on her show. You saw what Rachel Maddow had to say. You saw what Nicole Wallace had to say. You saw last night what Lawrence O'Donnell had to say. And you saw examples of people who were in mainstream media for a while, and their voices were just too strong. And so they're not anymore. And so when you look at the examples of a Katie Phang, an Ayman, and a Mehdi, and then you go, well, what is going on? And that gentleman is saying, what is going on here? What is going on here? And someone asked me earlier in the chat, do you think that they're being pressured by the administration? Perhaps. I just want you to look at how different this is, because this is what happened a few weeks ago that started this madness online, or just in the public, about, well, what is going on with the mainstream media. Here's Morning Joe.
Past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote. Joe and I realize it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
So I like Joe Scarborough. I don't know Mika. And I understand having an opportunity to talk to someone. But I think in this day and age, people would have preferred more transparency. And an interview, being a broadcast journalist, would have been, I think, a more appropriate way to handle that. My opinion. Donald Trump, you want to meet with me? Great, let's do it so the American people can see it, and let's sit down and do an interview. I'm just saying. And then, you know, that's my 2 cents. And then the fallout started to happen, and then this on Morning Joe as well.
Joe, you had your moment. Let me just finish the point.
I know, but
I get
tell
that.
us something we don't know.
Well, I'm telling you something that you seem to forget. And so let me make my point. You may not like it, but I'm going to make it. And the reality of it is, I take your civility argument, and you like to say 78 million people voted for Donald Trump. Well, 82 million people voted for Joe Biden.
Right.
And he didn't get that civility that you're talking about from Donald Trump in those 4 years.
Right.
So now the expectation is, oh, because he's won again and he got 78 million people, we all got to be civil to Donald Trump. Well, okay, I'm prepared to be civil.
Nobody said that.
You did.
No, I didn't say it.
I did.
I didn't say everybody has to be civil.
The reality of it is, you're using the term civil. I've never used that term. I'm using your term. You put civility on the table.
You said we all have to be civil. There is a pushback that you have to have.
But Joe.
I'm just talking about Barack Obama.
I'm saying, I'm not, fine. I'm not talking about that. My main point is, everybody's looking at this from a one-way perspective, how we need to approach Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. How the hell is he approaching us?
Thank you.
Yeah. The man wants to lock up citizens.
The man, let him go a little bit. Sorry, Andy. He's making a point. I'm sorry about that. The man wants to lock up citizens. Can you do it or no? If it's a problem, go ahead.
The man wants to turn the government against him. How are we to respond to that? Are we supposed to be civil?
Michael, do you think we don't
good.
know that?
Okay, good. So that's the thing that I think that's very interesting for the American people. How does one approach? And what I said, my approach, would have been to do an interview. And I remember his first term, and I've talked about this before, where he invited everyone, all the journalists and the major folks at the network, to either the White House or to the Trump Tower. I forget what it was. And our boss at the time said, you don't have to go. If you want to go, you can go. If you're not. And I chose to put in a request for an interview rather than go and have him insult me and just sit there. He didn't say yes. So, how do we approach this? That's the whole point. How do we approach this? How does the media approach Donald Trump? How does the media approach Black and brown people and people who are part of the underserved communities who are, quite frankly, losing their jobs or their profiles are being lowered at networks? Whether that's the intent or not, it certainly appears that way. We're at a very critical moment in the news industry and a very critical moment with the country and the news industry, with the administration and the government and the news industry they're usually the folks who hold the people in power accountable. But now you have the people in power who have it backwards. They think that the journalists and the American people work for them when they actually work for the journalists and the American people. And that White House press secretary, somebody needs to tell her that. And someone needs to hold her accountable more than they are doing now. They're doing it. Look, there are people who are pushing back, but not in a way that you need in this moment. And I think people are pulling their punches. This is just me, because they are worried about losing access like the Associated Press. But if everybody stands up, the press has the power there and the American people have the power. And if you don't think the press is doing for you what you think needs to be done, then you can do what Kendrick Lamar says. Turn the TV off.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.